Right then, so Dapol recently released their Hawthorn and Leslie 040 little shunting saddle tank engine thingy. Now, I'm not the last word in expertise when it comes to steam engines or what they do or what they did or what they got up to, especially in real life. But I must say, when this thing was announced, it sort of passed me by because I wasn't really into steam back then as much as I am now. However, when the prototype photos came out and everything else, I started to pay more attention, and I found that actually it was a pretty looking little thing. And I saw one of them at a show. I can't remember which show it was, a prototype model, and I thought I need this little thing in my life. It is beautiful. My review is a little bit later than everyone else's, so I'm going to make mine a little bit differently. I'm just going to do a quick overview of the model, basically what I think of it, what I feel about it, and then I'm going to go over a few things that you folks can do to improve your model. But let's get down to brass tacks, shall we? Out of the box, the most apparent thing when you first get it out is the fact that it's bolted in there. I say bolted, screwed into this little plastic case so it doesn't rattle around, which I kind of like because it is a small model with lots of detail parts of it and you don't really want it rattling around. So Dapol it's quite clever. They've fixed the model to this plastic sheet and then held the buggery out of this mounting point, so there's no actual pressure on the model, and it's quite clever. Mine arrived mostly damage free. One of the little steam valve things on the cylinders was missing on my model, which is a bit of a shame. One of those things, isn't it? I looked in the box, couldn't see it, so mine is down a steam detail thing. I don't know what they call the pipes on the bottom of the cylinders. Anyway, next thing I noticed was when running the little thing, mine was a little bit hesitant at first, and despite having clean track and clean wheels, it was still a little bit but of course 10 minutes on my DCC Concepts rolling road and it was all bedded in, running nicely, running smoothly and happily. However, if I had to change a couple of things on the model, primarily I would change the factory sound. I firmly believe that if you're going to pay more for a factory sound fitted model, then the sound should be as good as you can make it. And I must admit that the sound profile which comes on the sound fitted version left me feeling just a little bit cold. But we're just going to do this as a quick demonstration of what the factory sound file that comes on the sound fitted version sounds like. That's it now, that's in Steam. I'm not going to go through all of these, I'll do the firebox flicker. And then the horn. And you know, they sound fine. That's not the thing I have the issue with. The issue is that when you set it into reverse or forward, it just sort of goes. It doesn't release the brake sound. You know, you've got to faff about with it manually. And a lot of the more advanced sound profiles out there do this for you automatically. Even the basic Hornby ones on the TXS decoders do that for you. So I'm just going to show you this now. Hopefully it won't stall, because it doesn't have a stay alive yet. Very slow acceleration. Very smooth mechanism, but I'm not sure it's going to go over those points. Now they are electro front, and they have been wired in. Pardon the camera moving a little bit. This is only a very minor criticism. The model is like 90% perfect, but I just feel that the sound could have been a bit better. This is why I sent mine to John JMC and had him put his custom sound file on there, and in my opinion that is a much nicer sound file than what comes on the model to begin with. I will say this though, the speaker that comes from the factory with Dapol is absolutely fantastic. For the size of the little model and the volume and the bass which comes out on the speaker, it's actually fantastic. That was another thing which stood out to me. It actually sounds like a steam engine and not someone stamping on snow. You know what I mean? That was really apparent to me. And it was just nice to hear the fact that it didn't sound like snow being stepped on or a packet of crisps being ruffled, you know what I mean? Secondly, it would have been nice for some kind of factory stay alive to be fitted on there. I know Curascale fit factory stay alives on theirs, and a lot of other manufacturers are following suit now. Yes, the model is very heavy for its size, and it does run very well, especially over electro-frog points which have been wired up correctly. However, there's only 4 wheels, and it doesn't take much for those 4 wheels to get dirty, and then once they are, you're taking it off, constantly cleaning the wheels again. I've had to clean the wheels on this locomotive 4 times since I've had it. I had to do it before this review because even though it's got a stay alive on there, it just wouldn't get more than a couple of inches before cutting out, even with a stay alive on there. So without a stay alive, it would have been, or it wouldn't have ran. It would have stuttered, died, cut out, which is frustrating. Price point was good though, I must admit. Price point was very good, so I can sort of see why there's no stay alive on there, and I can see why the factory sound is a little bit basic, because let's face it, it's less than 130 quid brand new for the DCC ready version and 100 quid more for the sound fitted version, so it's not bad at all. If I had my time again, I would have just got the DCC ready version and just sent it and got my own decoder and thing put in there from the start, because I had to do that anyway. The other nice feature is the actual DCC fitting of this model really easy. You just stick a screwdriver down the chimney, undo the screw, and then the boiler sort of pops off almost like a bonnet configuration. That's where you can find all your gubbins for your speaker and your decoder and what have you. The cab roof lifts off, which is very good because later on we're going to be fitting a crew from Modelu, which I've recently painted up, and we're going to stick those in later on. But before we do any of that, I'm just going to go through a few steps that you folks can do at home, nice and easy, nice and simple, so you can really bring this beautiful model from Dapol to life. Okie dokie, here we go. First things first. All I've done to prepare the model is just remove the couplings at the front there, and I've given the model a full spray, good couple of coats of high coat matte varnish, and this just gives the model a nice really flat finish, because it is, even though it's quite flat from the factory, it is still somewhat on the satin side, and we want a nice matte finish for all of our various powders and paints to fit to, which I've got to one side. I'm not going to make this a full tutorial, just more of an overview, an over guide. So first things first, so we're going to try and get as close to this original paint as we can, but a bit lighter, and we're going to almost dry brush over the NCB. This will make it look like it's had a hard work-worn life, and she's coming towards the end of her duties. She's been bought by a station, or been relegated to a station to do pilot duties, and that's what's going to happen here. So without further ado, we'll crack on with that. Okay, so we've just been again working the powders in there, and if you've been on one of my weathering courses, you'll know the techniques that we've used here today. Nice and simple, anyone can do it. So this is just at the minute 3 colours: bit of pure white to fade, and then Umbro smoke, and then Umbro black. Now we're going to take the DCC Concepts brown dirt, I think, or brown rust, and then we're going to take our attention to the underframes there and the cylinders, and then we're going to add rusting details and what have you, and rust up these buffer heads. Easy. So this final bit for weathering the actual locomotive itself is Something I learnt from a chap called Kiwi. He's a fellow weathering artist, if you will. And it's for adding the little calcium streaks. So if we just get a little bit of this pure white DCC Context weathering powder on the end of this is a 00 brush, but you see the end's been cut down. And what this allows you to do is, let's just say there's a leak here. It allows you to get a real fine streak on it. See that? It's subtle, but it's there. Again, just blowing the excess powder away. A little leak there, and maybe there's a small bit of paint peeled behind one of these. A little leak in the boiler there. Easy enough to do, and just try and keep your hands straight when you're dragging down, because what a lot of people will do when weathering streaks is they'll allow their hand to curve, and when you look at the bottom of the line, you'll notice that actually it doesn't actually keep straight. There we are. Not too much. Maybe a little bit on the chimney there. I can afford to be a bit more bold on this bit, I think. And get a little bit coming off of here as well. Lovely stuff. And then at the front of the smoke box here, we're going to get our little rough brush here, get a little bit of this mid grey, and then we're just going to stipple it on, just to give the impression that this loco's been ashed out, and this is where the remnants of the ashes. And don't worry if you leave big, like you can see there, it's quite grainy. That's good because it kind of acts a little bit like scale ash, and looking pretty. And I think we've done enough for that. I don't think we need to go any further with the actual weathering of this. We've done the wheels, the frames, cylinders have been done, chimney, looking good. But there is one other thing I need to do to this before we call it done, and that is fit a crew, and that's why we use Modelu. So first of all, big thanks to Chris and Alan over at Modelu, who were kind enough to actually just send me these guys. This is the crew for the Hawthorn and Leslie. Hopefully you can see it on this camera. If not, I will take a picture later on and make it more appropriate. Painted this with a contrast paint of my own making, just allows you to get the detail in there. Same on the second man here, super detailed. I've been using black tack to stick these guys in, which is fine. I want to use something a bit more permanent, so I'm going to use a little bit of PVA this time. But the fact that you can take the roof off of this is a big help. I'm going to fit the crew. I've also got some extra details from Modelu. This is a loco shed detailing pack. You've got some lamp irons, a briefcase, a spare shovel. I'm going to decorate the locomotive with these as well. Let's see what it looks like when it's all finished. And here we go. It's a pretty looking little thing, ain't it? I'm probably going to add some grease spots to the buffer beams there as well at some point. You can see now the little bit of rusting on the edges there. There's streaking coming down from the boiler and the chimney. They all just add something extra. And of course the fantastic crew and detail parts from Modelu there. You can see the briefcase, oil tins, etc. And I've even added some toolboxes which I had spare in my spare boxes from the little Victory that Planet Industries made. And I thought, you know, I've got a spare box or two, and I just put them on there and rub them with a little bit of rub and buff pewter, and it gives it a nice warm metal look. No, we actually got those wheel coal, and of course we had the North Yorkshire Railway when I was up recently. It is a lump of coal, literally crushed up to about the right sort of scale, and stuck down with good old-fashioned super glue. Fantastic. Well, there we have it, boys and girls. I really hope you enjoyed that little video. I know it wasn't as in-depth as it could have been with the weathering techniques, but weathering videos are pretty boring and they're pretty commonplace, and they're really hard to film as well, because it took me an hour to set up to film that, and probably 2 hours to do the loco. Speaking of which, here she is. What an absolute beauty, and for some reason the camera just isn't picking up all the details as well as you would like, but she's an absolute little stunner. And how good does that crew from Modelu look? Just superb. Really is fantastic little model. Superbly detailed. I am very impressed, very pleased with it. Awesome bit of kit. Excellent. Now then, if you've got one of the new Dapol Hawthorn and Leslie 040s, let me know what you think. I want to know if you weathered yours. Are you planning on weathering it? Have you already weathered it? Or are you going to run yours in some sort of preserved nonsense? I'm joking. Either way, get involved. Show me what you've done. If you want to check out the bits and pieces Modelu have to offer, there are links in the description box below. Do check them out. Their quality is absolutely amazing. I don't even bother using figures from anyone else anymore. Yes, you have to paint them, but it's not that hard to do. Even a buffoon and troll-like figures such as me can do it quite easily. Don't forget to drop a like, comment, subscribe. It costs you nothing, and I'll see you all next time, folks. Take care. Bye-bye.